Hello and welcome again, everyone, to this week's episode of the News and Trendings broadcast. I'm your host, Harper_1, and today we'll talk about a few things from around the world, including the Israel-Hamas war, and the updates regarding that, as well as some things here in the home front, some of the devastation from Hurricane Helene, so some updates on that from last week's post, as well as a couple things going on. There was some updates in the 2020 election case with Donald Trump, as well as some other things going on around the U.S., and we're just going to go ahead and get right into it. Alrighty, everyone. Here we have the Israel-Hamas war. This has been going on and will probably continue to be going on with updates probably every week until this ends up, being resolved, which may never happen. But basically, over the past couple days, Israel has been striking Lebanon, Beirut, and so they currently are leading a ground incursion into Lebanon. I believe they've issued evacuation orders to some of the people there, basically saying that they're going to be pushing further into the country. Iran is responding. Iran is very unhappy. Israel is also counterattacking. It looks like Iranian facilities today. I believe there were some strikes on some Russian-owned military bases. However, a lot of the bases in the region that are Russian combined or that have Russian arms, like ammo dumps, that sort of thing, are actually used by kind of Hezbollah, Houthi rebels, basically all sorts of different groups in the area. So there's no telling. But they were Israeli targets and they were struck. Only issue with that is, if Russia, if the tensions increase with Russia having to join something, Russia has to intervene because we kind of haven't supported. We support it, but not directly. We also haven't really put our foot down to try to stop anything. We just say, oh no, you guys should stop, but we haven't been very America about it, considering Israel's kind of sort of one of our allies, and we recognize their autonomy. So we'll see how that goes, see how that pans out. If Russia gets involved further, that will probably mean we will get involved further, which doesn't mean good things. Not necessarily saying it means World War III, but probably not very far off, at that point. Um, I'm not sure Russia's going to do anything. They're kind of, deeply involved in fighting Ukraine on their doorstep, vice versa. So I'm not sure that they're going to, get into that too much because it just doesn't make sense. But who knows? Never know. Alrighty. And up next here we have the dock worker strike that started earlier this week, I believe towards the beginning of the weekend, towards the end after our last update. And it is already suspended. It looks like they've agreed to a 62% increase. Let's go ahead and roll the video here.
All along the East Coast and the Gulf, in fact. There is late word coming in at this hour that the union is suspending the strike until at least January 15th. ABC's Elizabeth Schulze back in New Jersey live for us tonight. Elizabeth, what have you learned?
David, sources familiar with these negotiations tell us that the union and the shipping industry group have reached a tentative agreement that will suspend this strike until January 15th. This agreement covers wages. Both sides would then return to the negotiating table to resolve their outstanding issues in January. We've seen this strike stretch 3 days. 47,000 dock workers walked off the job for the first time in nearly 50 years. And shipping at more than a dozen ports all along the East and Gulf Coast has been at a standstill. Those shipments should now be able to resume. David?
Well, hopefully that's relief for both the workers and the millions of Americans who are bracing for higher prices in the coming weeks. Elizabeth Schulze with the breaking news. Thank you, Elizabeth.
All right, and there you go. There you have it.
In the meantime, we turn to the economy tonight.
Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. There are talks that part of this is to respect, how there's a lot of people in the Southeast without power, without aid, and just all of the kind of problems from Hurricane Helene, which we'll cover a little bit later. And so that's part of it, as well as a lot of people were getting worried. It was starting, Costco buyouts. I went out personally, got my next couple months supply of toilet paper. Realistically, I was down to my last couple rolls because I was being lazy. But yeah, I saw, seen things about people locally, buying out toilet paper, water, everything from Costco. So I figured it, would behoove me to go out and make sure I grab my toilet paper so I could have it. Not to panic buy, but because I was actually running out, and if people were going to panic buy all of it, and we are going to be out of toilet paper again, I actually needed some. So anyway, um, but yeah, this is good. It'll keep things rolling, trucking and rolling. I'm sure we're going to see delays in certain things just for 3 days. I mean, a backup of 3 days, through the ports, considering how much we import and export through those. It's going to be kind of a I'd say semi-major issue, at least for those people working. It's good that they got their negotiated 60%. I mean, that's really good. I'm not sure when the last time they got a raise, but if it's like anything else in the rest of America, last time anybody got a decent raise has been quite a long time. So, this is good. Oh, okay, yeah, it's over 6 years, but even still, that will help beat inflation and sorry, that will help beat where we are currently. That's all I got for this, and on to the next story. All right, and here we have an update on the 2020 election. I guess I don't really want to call it scandal, but the elections case. Go ahead and roll this video, and then we'll talk about it.
More about how special counsel Jack Smith is trying to prosecute his election subversion case over former President Donald Trump, even after the Supreme Court ruled presidents have broad immunity for actions they took while in office. National correspondent Atra El-Nashar shows us the evidence a judge just made public.
Special counsel Jack Smith laying out his case that former President Trump was acting as a candidate, not a president, when he allegedly tried to subvert the results of the 2020 election. And therefore, Smith says, must stand trial for his private crimes as would any other citizen. U.S. District Court Judge Tanya Chutkan has to assess whether Trump's actions were part of his official duties or not, after the Supreme Court partially sided with Trump's argument that presidents have absolute immunity. Trump reacting to Smith's filing Wednesday night.
He's a deranged person. I call him deranged Jack Smith. This was a weaponization of government, and that's why it was released 30 days before the election. And it's nothing new in there, by the way, nothing new. They rigged the election. I didn't rig the election.
But it does contain new evidence the public hasn't seen before that Smith says proved Trump was not acting as president. Like a White House staffer traveling with the defendant overheard him tell his family members that it doesn't matter if you won or lost the election, you still have to fight like hell. We're also learning how Trump allegedly pressured his then vice president and running mate Mike Pence. Pence told prosecutors when they spoke on November 4th of that year, Trump told him to study up claims of voter fraud in states that they had won together in 2016 to determine whether they could bring legal challenges as candidates in those states.
The judge has got to decide, well, is that official or is that private? And if it's official, she's got to take it out of the indictment. She's got to reboot the whole case. And to top it all off, the Supreme Court really didn't give much guidance on this.
Trump's team will get their chance to respond, further delaying a case that already had no chance of concluding before the election.
It all gets thrown out. The case is dead on arrival if Trump wins. If Trump loses, even then, this is going to drag out for years, most likely.
It's possible we learn more even before the election. Judge Chutkan may release exhibits referenced in this filing, like witness statements, in the coming days or weeks. In Washington, I'm Atra El-Nashar.
Interesting. Well, there you have it. That's an interesting way to go about it because of we didn't cover it here, but how I've talked about it before, I guess, with friends and everyone else. The extremely detrimental ruling, or the piece that came out from the Supreme Court that basically gives presidents immunity and everything, which is absurd. You have to be able to hold people accountable, and that includes presidents. Honestly, there needs to be accountability for the Supreme Court, although that's really hard to do with, based on their position. But yeah, like it's the same thing with even police should be able to be held accountable. Qualified immunity is kind of absurd. Qualified immunity is important. There needs to be a level of immunity or level of protection whenever they're doing duties. The problem is it's been expanded upon so much, and it's claimed for everything people do that's wrong. And that's where it becomes a problem. And the biggest problem with Trump um, is the blatant lies that the man says, um, just out of the things that come out of his mouth. I mean, we covered an entire 4 years of presidency. There was always new stuff to cover every week about something he had said. It was completely baseless lie and things of that nature. But still, I'm not sure if this is going to go anywhere. It's interesting again that they're trying to circumvent the Supreme Court's ruling on that. If it is proven that these things were done before he became president, that can, I mean, that as far as I understand it, that could be grounds enough for that court case to at least go through. But like the gentleman said, I don't even know what his qualifications were. Even if it gets, they win to the point where it goes up to the higher courts, it's still going to take a while before there's any like actual sentence carried out, as well as any restitution or anything of that nature. And we'll be well past the election cycle. So there's that. But yeah, there we go. And then we're gonna get on to the next one. Alrighty, I'm just gonna touch up on the subject really quickly. On Tuesday was the vice presidential debate. Usually not as important in terms of debates and in terms of voting. However, I thought it was a very decent debate. Both of the candidates were kind of more respectful than the president, both of the presidential candidates. And I feel like in total, it was a much better debate. There was a lot more talk of kind of substance and like what each group would do or try to do. Um, there seemed to be kind of more fair mediation this time around, as both sides were called out for things they had said in the past. All in all, I thought it was pretty good. Like I said, I felt like it was better than the actual presidential debate, which to me is still kind of sad personally. Kind of sad that our vice presidential debate feels better than our presidential debate candidates, when the unfortunate fact of the matter is the VP entries, which is part of the reason why Kamala is where she is, they don't really get a lot of power. Um, there's not a lot that they actually do or get to do. They don't get to do as much. They're just kind of mostly there. Nice to see. I thought it went pretty decently. If you haven't watched it, I would watch it. To watch your candidates speak about the topics, form your own opinions. I'm not gonna tell you which way to vote one way or another. I'm just gonna talk about it, the fact that it happened, and said I thought it was pretty decent instead of the presidential debate. And we only have another month before we have elections. So remember, everybody, to get out, get registered, and get out there and vote. Alrighty, and here we are on the final topic of the day. Go ahead and give you an update on some of the Hurricane Helene damages. This was basically on Tuesday. It looked like this was an update saying that more than 1 million people were without power, and it looks like more than 1.5 million remain without power Tuesday morning. I'm not quite sure where we are now with power. Let's see. Oh boy, there we go. That is cool. That's quite a bit. 4,000, 6,000. Wow, 10,000. Yeah, so basically where that hurricane went, and it went straight up this area and ripped apart a lot of these things in these areas. There's a lot of people without power. Love how there's just people without power and everywhere else in random spots. Those I guess are kind of standard. Love how there's also just this random red zone over here for kind of no reason. But yeah, I mean it rolled up this way and devastated a lot of this. But yeah, it's still a lot of people without power. It looks like to the tunes of thousands, if not even still a million, or at least hundreds of thousands, I'd say. So thoughts and everything goes out to those people. Hope the government steps in and starts to take care of business, and they can start restoring power and start getting to people. I'm sure there's going to be a unreasonably high death toll to this. It's going to be interesting that the storm hitting Florida had impacts and did all of this damage. And speaking of which, we're going to go ahead and come over here and look at some of these before and after. Now I don't know what the before is. Like I don't, I'm not quite sure the timing on the before. And some of the pictures don't really do it justice. Like this one, I can't really tell too much. I mean, it look like I can't zoom into these pictures. It looks like there's like dirt and silt there, but that could also just be the roads. Like it's just a different color. But then you see pictures like this. So that was the before, and that's the after. Like how much stuff is destroyed. This is pretty zoomed in, and these people's house, like their house is fine still. Here's a good one. This is before. This is after, and like that's all just destroyed and washed out. That was a good one, which is interesting because that was a road. That was a lot of things, and it's now no longer. That's ridiculous. As well as this, I can't really tell much on this. Like I can't tell if this is dirt and silt in these areas or if this is just how it looks. This is one of those that I can't really tell much about. Um, Going. This one's also fairly bad. See, the river was just a tiny little thing going on here, and then it widened up and ripped out a bunch of this. This all used to be a road here. There used to be something right there. Now it's just all destroyed. I mean, there's a lot of these different things. This was a pretty good one. The lake. Here's just how the lake looks normally. Looks like some of the dirt and everything goes into this way and it stops, and then you get the nice tranquil lake. And here this is just all debris washed up, or debris that's just washed into this lake and from everywhere. Here's an actual really good one where it's I guess the lake's welcome center. Looks fairly normal right there. And then here, this is I don't know why the hell it's stuck, but stab it. There we go. So, it's all the silt and everything washed up from the water raising. I mean, it washed out, all of this little area. I mean, you can't even see it destroyed the tennis court too. It destroyed everything and it displaced these buildings too. So that's kind of crazy. And then this, went in and destroyed a bunch of homes as well. What else we got? Here's Florida. A bunch of stuff destroyed in Florida, right where they were hit originally, or the first hit. Man, it destroyed all of that. Some of these are crazy. But yeah. That's our update currently of Helene. I'll probably have another short update next week. I would hope by next week more than half of the people's powers are restored, and we have some positive updates. Currently, without looking into it, I've not heard a lot of positive response from FEMA and the government. And as far as I know, they're waiting on the governor. I'm not sure if it's North or South Carolina to enact allowing active duty like Army to come in and help the National Guard with recovery efforts. Um, I mean, it's just going to take a lot to recover. It's interesting. Something, went so far inland and destroyed so much. It's probably because a lot of those areas are like hilly valleys, so they don't normally see this, torrential rainfall. And so a lot of these things just got kind of mudslide and washed out as the torrential and heavy rainfall displaced a lot of the soil and kind of, like I said, made essentially mudslide type conditions, which you see all the time in other countries all over the world. Alrighty, folks, that's been it from me, Harper Brother here, this week on the news and trending. We'll go ahead and we'll catch you next week at the same time. We'll have some more updates regarding everything that can be updated, as well as new things that come up throughout the week. If you can, please like, rate, comment, subscribe. If anything you want to see us cover or talk about, make sure to bring it up. We'll see you next week, as well as make sure to check out our weekly shorts and our other React roll-up if you're interested in that content. But that's been it for me here. I will see you the next time. Peace.